Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. And we have Adam Smith from Niche Website Builders back again. And today, Adam is going to be sharing a case study 0 to 3.3 million page views in 13 months. So, Adam, you said this is the best case study that you've got.
Yeah. It's definitely standout case study, to be fair. They don't all go like this. If they did, then we'd all be multimillionaires, right?
You already are. Don't kid yourself.
No, it's you. It is. You're the one with all the money.
Don't know about that, dude. Don't know about that. But
anyway, happy New Year, by the way, because I haven't spoken to you since New Year. So happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, and hopefully 2023 is another great year for you guys.
Yep. Shaping up to be.
Yeah, it should be. Listen, this is the way forward. So I'm sure it will be for you. We have Luke Morgan. Now, obviously, Luke works for Niche Website Builders, but if you've got questions, you want to ask Adam anything, put them in the live chat. We will come to the questions towards the end of the hour, where you can ask Adam questions based on the case study or based on whatever the hell you want to ask him. Pick his brains. So do put your questions in the live chat. Let us know where you're from as well. It's always nice to see where people have came from. But Adam, the stage is yours, mate.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm assuming there should be some questions as we go through this. There's lots of different facets to this. So we've got some link building, content, site design, all kinds of things like that. So yeah, let me share my screen and get into it. And same for you, Craig. If you've got any questions as we go through it, then let me know as well.
I will do.
So can you see my screen there? Shall I put it in presenter mode, do you think, or is that okay?
That's okay. I can see it fine.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So yeah, as you mentioned, going to be covering one of our best case studies. In fact, it's probably a standout case study from anyone. Like it's almost I've never seen a site grow this quick before. And it was great to work on a project, but essentially we built a site from scratch on an age domain. And we grew it to over 3 million visitors per month, all from search traffic. And I'm going to break down what we did, what the keyword research looked like, how we kind of planned out the content in terms of scheduling it, what we did in terms of link building, how much was spent, because I think that's also important. It's great to talk these headline numbers, but how much was spent and what the return looked like. And then also cover a little bit more about basically, do you want to watch us do it again? Because we're couple of months into running a very similar case study internally. So without further ado, I'm Adam Smith, the co-founder of Niche Website Builders, as you probably already know, Craig just mentioned. But this is what we're going to talk about. Initial strong age domain. We purchased and redirected in 6 additional age domains into this project, which is quite a lot. People talk about using age domains as 3-1 redirect and how many is too many. In this case, we did 6, and this is fine. We did also did a live stream. If you want to know the answer to how many is too many, we did a live stream a while back, or where we found example websites where they had hundreds of age domains redirected in, and we're doing really, really well. So people always talk about, is there a magic number for how many you should redirect in? From our experience, no, and from looking at these other websites, no, with the caveat, as long as they are good age domains. You can't redirect shit in, you know? And we also created, over the course of 12 months, about 900 pieces of content, which was a little over 2 million words of content for this website. So very content-led, very heavy content focus, along with building up the domain and the authority through age domain redirects. So the first thing to cover off is keyword research. Like, keyword research is daunting, especially if you're starting out, and doing keyword research for 2 million words of content is super daunting. Like, where would you even start? But we've developed a system called tomb raiding method, and it's not, we didn't make it up. Essentially, we took bits of other keyword research methodologies and systemized it. So it's repeatable. It's a repeatable process. And basically, tomb raiding, what you need to do is the process is you look for a giant list, or you create a giant list of competitor websites that are in the exact same space. And you can make that list however you want. You can Google keywords that you think and see what comes up on Google. You can take those competitors and put them in SEMrush and Ahrefs and look at competitors. But basically, you want that list to be as big as you can. And in this case, I think we had probably over 100 competitor websites, all in the exact same space, all content-based websites. That's important. These are not e-commerce websites or SaaS businesses. They're all basically display ad or affiliate type websites in the exact space. And then from there, we want to weed out all of the ones which are weaker than our domain. So we've started on an age domain. So we've got kind of metrics to look at. And we used to look at six metrics. We used to look at Ahrefs, UR, and DR. We used to look at Majestic's trust flow and citation flow, and Moz's DA and PA, but we don't really use trust flow and citation flow anymore. So we've looked at 4 different metrics, UR, DR, PA, and DA, and we pull those 4 metrics into a spreadsheet for all the domains, and we add them all up, and that basically gives us a kind of like an average score of how powerful we think the domains are for these competitors. And we put our website into that list as well, and then we order the list highest to lowest, and basically anybody that's below you in that list, in theory, should have a weaker domain than you from a backlink perspective. So we've identified these are all the competitors, and now we know where we sit in that list, and we know, and we can see who are the weaker competitors. And then we delete all the strong ones, and of the weaker ones, we pull in traffic stats, either from Ahrefs or SEMrush, and we basically look for competitors that are doing standout. They're doing a standout job. So they've got way more traffic in comparison to the rest of the group. And the reason we do that is basically we want to find sites that are weaker than us from a link building perspective, but we also want to find sites that have done a really good job from a content perspective. They've done something really, really well with either the topics they've chosen, the way they've structured the content. They've done something which means they're getting almost an abnormal amount of traffic from Google in comparison to how strong their domain is. And once we have that list, and that list can be 1 or 2, it could be 10 or 20, we put them into SEMrush. We'll download all of their pieces of content with the corresponding traffic for each URL. And then essentially we will look at and say, right, well, of these URLs, which one's getting the most traffic? We'll order it highest to lowest, and then we'll pull out what does their title looks like, what does their meta tag look like, what their H1s, H2s look like. And basically we build our content briefs around these competitors that have weaker domains but are doing a really good job of their content. And then we'll make our content just a little bit better, usually by adding an FAQ or something. So we know when we come into this now, we've got a keyword research plan which highlights awesome topics that we know are generating traffic for our competitors, but those competitors have a weaker domain, and we're going to do a little bit better, slightly better job in terms of content. So we can, in essence, steal the traffic from those weaker competitors. And that's the tomb raiding method. And essentially that's what we did for this project. So those 900 topics all came from this one tomb raiding methodology. And this is what I mean in terms of competition. So we definitely didn't start out with a DR54, but I just pulled this screenshot out. Say, for example, that was your domain at the top, a DR54. We would be looking for sites which are maybe a DR38, for example, that are below us in terms of UR and DR. They're doing a good job in terms of traffic. The site below there is getting 300,000 visits per month, according to Ahrefs, probably closer to 500,000. But we know we've got a better domain. We know we've got stronger referring domains. We're more authoritative. And if we can see what they've done a good job in terms of their content strategy, if we can take that and do a slightly better job, given the fact we've got a better domain, we should be able to outrank them for lots of those terms. Another part of the strategy then was redirecting in the age domains. So link building is hard, as we all know, and link building at scale, especially if you want to build authority really quickly, is really hard. It's hard to go, even starting with an age domain. If you've got an age domain with 500 referring domains, if you want to be really aggressive and become an authority in the space, going from 500 domains to 2,000 referring domains, quality referring domains, and building a DR from 20, 30s, up to 50s, 60s with traditional link building or just, guest post, niche edits, even digital PR, haro link building. It's really hard because you're only getting a couple of links per month typically. So one of the ways we overcome that is to use other age domains and redirect them in. And again, I'll caveat this by saying the age domains you redirect in, they've got to be super high quality. They've got to pass all of your due diligence checks. Essentially, they've got to be the quality of sites that you would build a money site on, your original site on. You can't redirect rubbish in. But if you do that and you do that well, you can build massive authority quite quickly, assuming that it's in the same niche. And I'll talk through the process of how we do that, because there's definitely a process of how we redirect them in and we maintain that relevancy. But essentially, this screenshot here, you can see the site was launched in December 2020, so start of 2021. And you can see for a long time as an age domain had some referring domains in there. And then in December, just a few weeks after we launched, and in January of 2021, we sourced 2 additional age domains and we redirected those in. And you can see that spike of referring domains starting to go up. And then over the course of that first 12 months, we acquired another 4 age domains. So 6 age domains in the first 12 months. And that basically going from like nothing up to where it plateaued and straightened out was basically 6 age domains being redirected in over the course of 12 months. And essentially that site's gone from probably a couple of hundred referring domains to close to 10,000 referring domains. And not all of those are going to be quality because of age domains and how links are, but a massive chunk of those are going to be high quality stuff like Huffington Post and Forbes and LA Times and all kinds of top quality links like that. So redirecting age domains was a big part of the strategy, and this is what it actually looked like in terms of the number of referring domains and the power of the age domains and when they were redirected in. So we redirected the first domain in December 2020, so the month of launch. It was a DR39, had 319 referring domains, and then we did another one in January, February, and March. We didn't do one in April because we couldn't find one that was relevant enough or passed our criteria in April. But then we found another one in May and June. And essentially at that point, we were like, this should be enough to get us up to a DR60 plus. Let's not do any more for now, and let's see how the project continues. So that's essentially the cadence and the schedule of redirecting in referring domains and what they kind of looked like. Like I said, all of these we would have been happy to build sites fresh on these anyway, rather than redirect them in. And they all cost a couple of $1,000s each. These are not, $100 age domain where you pick it up and it's got a couple of spammy links. These are all super high quality domains that we redirected in. And this is the redirect process. So this is what it looks like. So a lot of people, when they redirect age domains in, they take the shortcut option, which is take the age domain, redirect it at the registrar level, and point it straight to the homepage of your money site. And looks so unnatural to Google. Like, why would a business acquire another business and just redirect their website to the homepage? Like, it doesn't happen. The whole point of this process is to make it look legitimate, essentially, to Google, to look like your business, your website has acquired the brand and the web assets of another business that has closed down for some reason, and you wanted to make it look legitimate, and you wanted to make it look like you've actually done that from start to finish. So the way that we approach that is we would create an acquisition page, a skyscraper page, and that essentially, the introduction says, hey, welcome to our website. I know you were looking for X website. They no longer exist. We've bought the URL for the site. And while you're here, when you check out, let us tell you a little bit about what we do, because they're quite similarly matched. They're in the same niche. If someone was looking for them, chances are they might find what they were looking for on your site anyway, because it's in the same space. And then underneath that introduction will typically be a 4,000 to 5,000 word piece of content that talks generally on the topic. And in there will be internal links all the way through to your blog pieces of content that cover the topic. So I'll give you an example. If this was a sport website as your money website, and you found an age domain that was all about tennis, you might create a whole silo of content on your money website about tennis. Your acquisition page would talk about maybe the history of tennis, and in there would be internal links woven in that will link back to all of your blog posts covering tennis. And what that does is then you maintain the relevance. So you've got an age domain about tennis being redirected into a skyscraper page that talks about tennis. You maintain the relevance. And then all that power and all those links that are to do with tennis, the power gets distributed through the internal linking all through to all your blog posts about tennis. So it's essentially a great way to build up categories. If you've got an age domain about tennis, or you've got an age domain about football, and you've got a ton of football content, or you want to make a ton of football content, by doing that, you can power up a whole category really quick with really relevant domains, essentially. No questions on anything so far, which is
always
cool.
Good.
Yeah, always good.
We'll pay on at the end, I'm sure.
So one of the other things to mention here is also about site structure, especially on a site as big as this, essentially, where the main thing we want to maintain is on pretty much any age domain, the home page is the strongest page. Almost all of the referring domains typically to an age domain will be to the home page. It's almost like your power page, or like all the historic power goes there. And when you set up your website, you want to make sure that you spread that power as efficiently from the homepage through to the rest of the website. And to do that, we structure our homepage in a way where we have links through to the individual categories on the homepage. So that homepage power gets passed through to the category pages, and then from the category pages through to the blog posts. And then for each category, typically we will have like a little blog roll, which maybe have the top latest 5 or 10 pieces of content that's been published in each category. And again, what that does is every time you post a new piece of content in a different category, some of that homepage power is distributed through to that blog post. Give it a nice boost as you publish that content. The other thing that we do is in terms of our category page structure. So out of the box, we don't out of the box WordPress, when you create a category page, it's got pagination or pagination, and I never know how you pronounce that word, but it's got pagination on there. And essentially what that means, if you create a category with more than 10 pieces of content, you will go to the category page, and then you've got to press next to go to the next page to see the next 10 blog posts, for example. But in this case, we think we've got 900 pieces of content, and we keep our categories generally quite broad. So for example, in the tennis example in the sports example I talked about, we might just have a category about tennis, and we wouldn't break it down to tennis and then rackets, balls, coaching, training. We would just keep it at tennis. In that instance, if you use pagination, you might end up with 5 or 6 clicks deep on a category page. And what that does is increase click depth on the website. So if you've got Screaming Frog, or get the free version of Screaming Frog, and you put your website through there and do a crawler there, there's a little window on the right hand side. You can click site structure, and you can see your click depth on your website. And basically what that means is how far away from the home page do you have to click to get to a piece of content. And by structuring our website so they don't have that pagination, they all appear on the one page on each category page, that means no post on the website is more than 2 or 3 clicks away from the homepage. And when you think the homepage being the power page because it's an age domain, that's really important. So that's the way essentially we structure the website. Broad categories, no pagination. Almost, you can think of it as infinite scroll essentially on the category pages, to keep the click depth really low as well. And then in terms of timeline, zoom in a little bit because that might be a little bit hard to see. But essentially, this is what the cadence of content creation and adding to the website look like. We launched the website in December, and we launched with 150,000 words. At the end of December, we redirected it in the first age domain. And then by the end of January, so the website had been live for coming up to almost 2 months, we could see that it was taking off really quick, like way quicker than usual. Usually, even age domains take a couple of months to kick in and start seeing traction. This site, by the end of the second month, was doing really well. We were like, wow, this is good. We went back to the owner and was like, look, you've got something special here. If you can, let's pour some fuel on the fire. And he's like, okay, awesome. Let's add another 150,000 words. So we did that in end of January. End of February, put in another third age domain. And then by the end of March time, this website was already generating through display ads enough money to be self-sustaining, to add almost 200,000 words of content every month. Like it was almost paying for that amount of content. And in that case, we said to the owner, if you don't need the money, reinvest it all. Like, honestly, this site is 6 months old. It's on a massive upward trajectory. Like, let's push it. So that's what we did. The end of March, we added another 200,000 words, and then we did it in April, May, June, and July. We basically added 200,000 words a month for those months. And if I scroll over, you can see it in a table here. But launched 150,000 words a month off, 150,000 words, 200,000 words in March, and then he started paying for itself. And he's like, let's go for it. And we added then 200,000 words a month right the way through until the end of the year, through to the end of December 2021. So massive amount of content creation, massive amount of process involved in editing content, formatting, publishing, getting it live on the website, quality control. And by the end of each month, the owner was like, wow, this is amazing. How are you even doing that? How are you publishing me 200,000 words a month? So that was great. And often we don't get, or we're doing more and more of these now, but at this time, back in the beginning of 2021, we hadn't worked on tons of projects where people had budget to add 200,000 words of content every month, because it's expensive, essentially. And I guess he was just lucky in that he could reinvest almost all the money from this site back into the project at that point and become self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And this is the results. So we launched the website in December 2022. By January 2020, by January 2022, so 30 months later, he was getting 3.3 million page views per month. And at that point, the site was with Mediavine, and he shared with us that in January 2022, the site earned just over $40,000 from display ads. So no affiliate income, no digital asset or project or anything like that, literally from display ads, which at that point was crazy. It basically changed his life, because he said when he started, he is an investment. He runs a family office, and crazily, this is one of the first websites that he's ever done. Like, he's never done this before. And at this point, he's like, this is a real business. Like, this is amazing. I need to build this into something, an actual business now. I want to look at how I can create courses and how I can create digital assets and how I can go about adding more revenue than just display ads. Because at that point, when you've got an audience of 3 million visits per month, it's easy to make more money then, to grow a YouTube channel, to grow a TikTok following or Instagram following, or sell something or create a membership site. And essentially, I think he ended up spending less time with the family investment business and more time on this business. And it's grown into an actual business now, which is really cool to see, because we talk all the time about treating these as real businesses, and basically the owner of this then went on to turn it into an actual real business.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then this is what was spent. So all that sounds great, but I mean, it cost quite a bit of money. So the primary domain, and this is the eye-opener bit, the primary domain that we built on was really expensive. It was 17,500. We didn't source that. We were bidding on the domain at auction, GoDaddy auction, and it went way above what we would have paid for it. And we were thinking, wow, like, what's going on here? Why is this going for so much? And it went, and we just forgot about it. And literally the very next day, this guy emailed and said, hey, I bought the domain yesterday. Can you help me build something with it? And we're like, oh, that was you. We were bidding against you up to like 5,000 or 6,000. I said, why did you pay so much for it? And he said, well, this is the first time I've done a project like this, so I don't really know how to value them. But also the domain had a connection to someone famous. They used to be part of like this philanthropy project. And he just liked that it had that connection. And at the time, I remember me and Mark saying, a great domain, but you probably paid way too much for it. And then fast forward 12 months, we're like, this guy's a genius. I wish we bought it and done it ourselves, kind of thing. But yeah, the initial age domain was expensive. And then the 6 additional age domains that we sourced those came to around $18,000. And then for that 2 million roughly words of content came to another 155,000. So in total, over the course of the first 12 months, this guy invested close to $200,000 in the site. But like I said, lots of that wasn't out of his pocket, because by month 6, the site was making revenue and he was reinvesting that back in. But in terms of pure cash in, it's quite the investment. But then if we look at kind of valuation of the site, this was back in January 2022. The site's roughly doing round about what the same it was doing then. So it's had well over a year now of probably $30,000 to $40,000 a month in revenue. Plus, if you were to sell it today at a 30x or 35 or 40 times multiple, the site's worth in the millions. We're talking like 1.4 to 1.6 million. So the profit, excluding any kind of monthly income from that website, would be in the $1.2 to $1.4 million range, which for me, this is what makes it a standout case study. Like, that number there looks awesome, 755%. They don't happen very often. They can be in the hundreds of percents, but this is just incredible.
But also, surely if that website's made 30 to 40K a month over the last year, then any initial spend has already been profitable as well.
Exactly. That's it. That money is excluding any monthly income. So that potential profit is not taken into account that he didn't make any money, which obviously he's made hundreds of thousands over the last 2 years with it, a year and a half.
So you could argue that he's literally spent no money, given the profit that he's gotten, and turned that into an asset, which is amazing, worth 1.4 million or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to work on the project. It was awesome to be part of it and to see that growth. Like, even though it's not our own site, like, just watching that's exciting every day. Come in, fire up analytics, look at search console. Oh my god, it's up again today. Like, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff to work on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that's the case study essentially, and just a brief overview of how we approach link building and kind of keyword research and things like that. And then again, I guess, like, that's obviously a great case study, but do you want to watch us do it again? Probably not to the same extent, because like I say, that almost feels like a one-off, getting those kinds of returns so quickly. But we've launched another case study. This is like an internal niche website builder project. We launched it on the 8th of August. We're calling it our Beast case study because it's twice as much content as the one we just saw there. So it's been live now for about 5 months, built on age domain, authority age domain, as we build pretty much all of our projects. And the aim of this is to create and publish over 2,000 pieces of content. And it was a DR27 when we started, and we're doing hyper aggressive link building to get it to a DR60 plus in the next, well, as soon as we can, essentially. So this is what this one looks like. So I'll zoom in again. It's more aggressive than that other one. We launched the website in August with almost 500,000 words of content, 240 posts. We then published another almost million words, 830,000 words in September, almost another 500,000 words in October. And when I pulled this together a little bit, this was internally in November, we'd done 351,000 words in November. We didn't quite hit this level here. We're slightly behind in terms of January. But essentially at the moment, there's about 1,300 posts out of 2,200 planned that's live on there, with another 800 that have been written and are just waiting QA and uploading. So within the next 4 to 5 weeks, we'll have slightly over 2,000 pieces of content on the website. So 6 months, 2,000 pieces of content. It's hyper aggressive from a content perspective. We've already redirected in 5 age domains, so very similar strategy to the one above. We redirected in 1 on the month of launch, which is a DR33. We redirected 2 in September because they're like buses. Some months you can't find any, and some months they come along nice. So we've managed to find 2 ones which met our criteria in September, a DR20 and a DR27. We did 1 more in October. We couldn't find one in November, and then we did 1 in December, and we haven't found one for January so far. But essentially, we've redirected in 5 age domains. And we've also, in this case, been doing digital PR as well. So as well as the age domains, we've been using our digital PR team to run digital PR campaigns. And so far to date, we've had 17 digital PR links, but the quality of these have been amazing. So we've had DR92, which gets 63 million Ahrefs traffic. These are things like Yahoo. We've got a DR91, 23 million visits, 89, 9 million visits. Like, they're tier 1 premium kind of links. And we're doing digital link building for a couple of reasons. One is obviously the links are good, but the other reason that we're doing digital PR is when we make these types of websites, the persona that or the author figure that we make for the website, they're not real people. We use this person does not exist.com for the image. We make up a whole backstory, and Google's getting smart. They want to see you displaying expertise, authority, and trust, and they've even added in that new experience now. But essentially, with a fake persona on the website, you don't have any of that EAT. You don't have any external sources or links verifying you as an expert or even a real person. So by doing digital PR, what we end up with is we get links on these tier one, highly relevant or highly authoritative websites, typically that mention the author by name. So it might say, this is David Smith from sports.com, and this is his expert quote. And the link, typically the anchor text will include the author's name, and they get linked back. And then if you wanted to, in the schema, you can also then link back to these pieces of content and say, Adam Smith or David Smith, same as, and then link back to these news articles. So when Google comes to your site, they see, oh, this is David Smith, same as, and link back to these news articles, and there's a reference there. And when they go to these authority sites and they see the link back, they see the reference, and you start to build a real digital footprint and a digital asset of this person that when you started was not real. If done consistently over a period of time, you can build massive amounts of EAT and turn this into a real expert in the eyes of Google, even though that person has never existed, by doing this kind of link building. So that's the main reason we've been doing digital PR for this website. And these have been the results so far. So we've increased the DR from 27 when we launched to 43 at the moment. And referring domains have gone from 4,400 to 1,960. And just a little bit on, we didn't pull those numbers out of the air in terms of we want to get to a DR 60 plus and we want to get to over 2,000 pieces of content. This is a strategy or a plan that's based around our big data project. And I'm not sure if we've been on your stream talking about it yet, Craig, or it's planned in to come in and talk about the data project, I think, is it?
Yeah, I think it's planned.
Yeah.
It's planned.
If not, I'll get it planned in.
Yeah.
But essentially, the data project was where we looked at over 5,000 content and affiliate websites. They're only content and affiliate sites. We deleted any brick and mortar stores, any SaaS businesses, any e-commerce businesses. So they're the only type of websites in there are the websites that we would build or consider competitors. And then from there, we looked at what the average domain rating was, the average number of links, the average number of pieces of content they have, the average traffic that they get. And then from there, we tried to estimate what the average revenue that they would be making based on Ahrefs traffic number, for example. And we bucketed them together. And I'll zoom in a bit on that table so you can see it. But essentially, what it looked like was we've got sites in the 10 to 25,000 visitors a month range, 25 to 50,000 visitors a month range, and so on. And then this shows them what the average DR is for the sites in that banding, the number of pieces of content they have, and then the traffic. And then based on a $25 EPMV or RPM rate, how much we estimate those sites would be making on average. And the whole point of the data project was to answer the question of, I want to make $1,000 a month. How many pieces of content do I need? And what kind of link building do I need? And we could look at this and say, well, depending on the niche, because we can break this down by niche, you need X amount of pieces of content and you need X amount of link building to get you roughly to a DR of 35, for example. And this is what that would cost in terms of money or investment. And this is what the returns would look like over a period of time. But for this project, the goals are quite aggressive. We want to sell this website at some point for $1 million. It sounds clickbaity, but we want to build a site from scratch and sell it for over $1 million within the next 3 years from launch. And in order to do that, looking at our data project, we can see that we needed to get it to $1 million valuation. You need to be making around $25,000 a month. In our data here, we went up to sites making up to $20,000 a month, and those on average have a DR of 58 and 1,700 pieces of content. So we know if we want to beat that, we want to do better than that, we need our DR to be at least a 60, and we need more pieces of content than 1,700. And when we looked at it further, we needed about 2,200 pieces of content. So the whole strategy has been devised around this data project, putting our money where our mouth is and saying, we believe in this data so much, let's invest, literally, I'll show you in a minute, hundreds of thousands of dollars of our own money to prove this works. And then, I mean, we're going to make money on it, but essentially, let's just do it and show you that we do this for ourselves as well. We're not just an agency that does this for clients day in, day out. We're actually going to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And these are the results so far. So this is Google Analytics since launch. So 5 months in, we just hit 800 daily visitors. So nothing like that other case study where we were at thousands of visitors a day by this point. But it's still, for a site which is only 5 months old, we're almost at 1,000 visitors per day now. It's taken off the way that we would like, and it's growing rapidly. And I'll show you Search Console. You can see that upward trend there in Search Console. It's over the same period of time. It's just going up and to the right, which is awesome. It's what we want to see, and some nice growth there. And then I've just covered this off quickly. One of the other things that people always ask us, especially on a project of this size, is, does Google like you publishing 2, 3, 4 million words of content as quickly as you can? Are you not going to get it indexed? And sure, even age domains have problems indexing sometimes, but in this case, there's no indexing problems. You can see on that graph on the left there, that's the number of pieces of content indexed, and it's going up as we publish more and more content. And then what's also interesting is on that graph on the right is the crawl request data. And again, you can see that it's going up and to the right slightly, ever so slightly in there, but that just basically means Google is coming back to the website more and more often now. They're spending more of their crawl budget on the website. And we're starting now to see this site move into kind of like authority mode, where Google is coming back in so much, you can publish a piece of content today and it's indexed and ranking within a day or two, because they're expecting that influx of content, which is nice. When you're in that position, you can just keep creating content, and it's going to do well for you then. And this has been the project spend so far. So again, I'm always conscious of sharing how much we've spent on this or what the returns might look like. The content has been around 4.6 million words. We've spent, if we were to buy it at the price somebody would buy it from our agency, $327,000 on content. The age domain that we built the project on was just under 3,500, and then we've got domain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they range from domain 3 was just $99. It was almost a steal, like really cheap. I couldn't believe it. All the way up to $2,500. And then again, for our digital PR, if we'd spent the money as like if you were a customer for the same work, we would have spent around $7,000. So we're into this project for almost $350,000 so far. But the project goal is to get it to 1 million plus visitors a month, an EPMV of $25. We've just put it into Ezoic right now, and we're currently getting between $18 and $22 EPMV. So when we move it over to Mediavine, I've got no qualms that it's going to be $25 plus. And that should mean a monthly revenue of $25,000 a month. And then at a 40x, all going well, we'll sell it for $1 million. We'll have another amazing case study, and everyone will say, "Oh, you've done a great job, Adam. You're awesome. You're the best. These website builders, yay!" That kind of stuff. Essentially, that's the project. That's how much we spent, and they are the goals. So we're 5 months in. 5 months into our 24, 36-month project. And I guess we'll be doing monthly, or not monthly, we'll be doing regular updates on our YouTube channels. We've done 2 so far, one when we launched, an update. We're going to be doing another one soon, but we'll keep updating every couple of months, show progress, show where we are. Are we tracking against the data project? Are we on track? Because we can go back and we can look, well, we should be X, Y, Z right now. Excited to share how that goes over the next 12, 18, 24 months.
I look forward to it, mate. I look forward to it, and hopefully you can exit with $1 million in your pocket. That would be awesome. But guys, you do now have 22 minutes to grill the hell out of Adam. But also, Adam, we have done the data project on the 13th of December. If anyone's watching wants to know what the hell is this data project, the guys at Niche Website Builders got 5,000 plus websites, and we done a session on the 13th of November, which you can find in the playlist on this channel, and you'll be able to see the ins and outs of that particular data. I thought you were talking about more information on the data project. I was
thinking that my memory's terrible, because I actually came on and did it with you, didn't I?
Yeah, it was you specifically. You can't even say it was Mark or someone else. It was you.
If it was in 2022, now it's forgotten. It's gone now. It's out of my memory. It's gone now.
Dude, I'm the same. I was at an event actually recently, and a dude came up to me and he's like, "How are you, Craig?" And I'm like, "I'm good." And I looked at him and he's like, "You've no idea who I am, have you?" And I'm like, "No." And he went, "Craig, I've been on your podcast and you've been on my podcast." And I'm like, "Dude, I talk to that many people. I don't know who I've said what to anymore. It's just all morphed into one."
So when you're as popular as Craig Campbell, I guess that's a problem, right?
Nah, not all of that. I mean, the point being is, I think you talk to that many people and you're doing your own shows, you're on other people's podcasts and webinars, you end up just not knowing who the fuck you said what to. That's my opinion on it anyway. But we have questions. One from Luke. How has the owner of that site found it translating those 3.3 million viewers to followers on social media?
Sure. So I don't know the exact numbers because I haven't checked it for a while, but when I looked, they were building an Pinterest following based on it because Pinterest can be a great source of traffic for these types of sites. I know they were going hard because at that point you want to start diversifying as well, right? You've got a $1 million plus asset that relies on Google traffic alone. And if something happens with Google, like we don't have $1 million asset anymore. So I know they were trying to build almost like this feedback loop with Pinterest to push people to Pinterest. They were embedding lots of high quality images in the content as well to try and get people to pin those on Pinterest. And they were doing quite well from that as a strategy. The other types of social media, I'm not 100% sure in terms of how that's working out for them right now. But I imagine once you've got millions of visitors, you can funnel them wherever you want. You can funnel them to a newsletter and from there sell newsletter sponsorship or your own products or something there. Mark has talked lots of times about one of his big websites, and he just has a little banner that comes down from the top that says join our Facebook group. And when they join the Facebook group, you can have them answer questions to enter the Facebook group. And one of the questions is put your email address in. And then he uses a Chrome extension called Group Leads that extracts all those email addresses once a week, pops them in MailChimp or ActiveCampaign. So in that way, he's building a Facebook group and an email list at the same time. So of those 3 million visitors a month, you only need a small percentage to convert every month to a Facebook group or a Pinterest channel or a newsletter for it to actually build really, really quickly.
Yeah. Makes sense. All-purpose work. Is redirection via registrar level to acquisition page a good one if the acquired domain is not quite related to your money website?
Yeah, well, if the domain is not related to your money website, then I would question why you want to redirect it at all. To be honest, relevance, whenever you're working with age domains, whether you're building on them or redirecting them or anything to do with age domains, relevancy is pretty much key. Like, I would rather wait 6 months for the right age domain to come up than redirecting one that's not relevant today. All right, you might lose some time, but relevance is key. But in terms of how we do the redirection, you can do it at the registrar level. We don't. We tend to set up a fresh WordPress installation and then use the redirection plugin. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One is we can set up Search Console for that website, and Google has a website. Now they can come and crawl and then follow the redirect path. But also, typically at a registrar level, you can only redirect the domain to one URL on your money website. When we do these acquisitions, most of the time everything goes to the acquisition page. But if you've got a couple of old pages on the website that you're going to redirect in that you've got relevant content for, it's hyper relevant, you can do page to page redirects, and you can't do that at the registrar level. It has to be done either htaccess or via a plugin. So we don't do it at the registrar level, full stop. And definitely don't do it if it's not related to your money site at all.
Yeah. No, try and keep it as related as you possibly can there. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? Is the reality. But also, does publishing tons of content on an expired domain does it really help? Is it a strategy or just covering every topic around the niche?
Yeah. I mean, whether you work with an age domain or a fresh domain, you should be aiming to cover every topic around the niche anyway. Like that should be the goal of any project. Whether you start off small with a sub niche and then build it out, and eventually your goal as a site owner is to cover the topic in full. Age domains essentially just they can be a shortcut essentially in terms of time it takes to get your first rankings and first revenues. They're not a magic bullet. It's not like you can use an age domain and put 20 pieces of content on there and it's going to rank instantly and make you loads of money. It's just another tool essentially to give you more chance of success. So yeah, whether you work with an age domain or not, covering every topic around the niche should be the goal, and publishing tons of content essentially gets you there and helps you with that goal.
Good answer. Emmanuel's asking, what's more important, content or backlinks? The famous old question, but we'll ask anyway.
Both. If anything, looking at our data project, and looking at the, how domain rating on average goes up by the brackets, and so does content. You can try and work out at different points of a life cycle what's more important between should you be spending more effort on content or links at specific times. But when you're starting out, both of them are important. And then you get to like this middle ground where more content is a better investment than links. And then you get past that point and then it moves to link building is more important than content. Definitely go back and watch that Craig's live stream on the data project, because we kind of covered that. We looked at, well, you can see you need twice as amount of content to jump from one level to the next level, where you only need a little bit in terms of link building, but they're both important.
Yes. Fruit Bat Cat says it's well worth watching the data project. It very much is. But guys, keep the questions coming. Let us know anything, whether it's relating to this or you've got a slightly broader question around niche websites. Please do ask them. Nicole, good to see you, Nicole. I love how SEO people think. What SaaS are you using to automate the content writing and the platform publishing? Why has there always got to be automation or a tool involved? By the way, Nicole, I ask the same question all the time as well. What the fuck are you using? You can't physically be doing this, manually, Adam. Come on, spit it out. But I'm going to make the horrible assumption that it's all manual.
It is. We've got a very large team. So we're a team of about 150 at the moment. And that's made up of different areas. So we've got a keyword research team, and most of their work is still done on Google Sheets. And then once it passes from the keyword research team, it goes into our project management tool, which we use monday.com. So there is a level of automation around like moving from department to department from there. But essentially, we've got all the content's human written. We've got the content team is 60 plus strong of content writers based here in the UK. So we don't outsource any content writing. We don't use any AI tools or anything like that. We lean in heavily into just human content. And then once the content's written, we've got another team then that take that content, format it, upload it to WordPress, add images, add featured images, make sure the URL structure is correct, that the category's right, and either publish it on behalf of the client or leave it in drafts for them to come in and check and review and hit publish when they're ready. So yeah, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of moving from one department to the next, essentially, to get project finished from start to end.
But nice try, Nicole. And as I say, I always think like that as well. I'm like,
if there is an automated way, I'm open to it, because we'd save ourselves a ton of work. But
but yeah, it's funny. Everyone's just looking for a way to quicken the process. But quickly, just out of curiosity, Adam, obviously everyone is talking about Chat GPT and all that stuff. Have you ever tried that on any of your own projects? And how do you see that going? Because it would make life easier if that shit worked, right?
Yeah, and it's an interesting space now. Like there's lots of uses and things like that. And I've got a couple of test projects, my own sites, where I've tried different versions of AI content and to various degrees of success. Some not indexing at all, some doing okay. But you've got to think of the any long-term implications. Like, this stuff is still really new. When we build these sites, especially if you're going to invest, it doesn't matter how much you're going to invest, but if you're going to invest money into a project, and on this end, the high level, you want to build in like a level of longevity, and you want to build in that safety net. Even if you could spam out 2,000-3,000 pieces of content using ChatGPT today, and it works for the next 6 months, what's to say that 6 months after that, Google doesn't say, hey, we don't like this shit anymore. And all of a sudden, your $1 million asset that you had is now worth nothing because you used ChatGPT or some kind of AI. I think there's, you've got to think that down those roads. And then also you've got to think about, at least ChatGPT seems to be better, but like tools like Jasper and Phrase and stuff like that, the content looked good and it read good, but it fact checked anything and it made shit up left, right, and center. Like, it was making dates up, making people up. Like, if you read it and if I showed it to my son who's 5 and read it, he'd be like, "Oh, this is great," because he doesn't know like that date is from 1850 and it doesn't make sense when we're talking about electric cars or something,
Yeah.
So there's that element, and I found that by the time you go through and edit and fact check and stuff, you might as well write it from scratch. It's not even a massive time saver in terms of by the time you edit it. Well, by the time you've got to figure out what inputs to put in, because it won't just spit out a massive piece of content, you've got to figure out the structure and put them in. Then you've got to edit it. Then you've got to fact check it. You might as well have written it from scratch, and you don't have that worry or headache of thinking, is this going to come unstuck in the future?
That's the way I think about it anyway. It's always thinking about the future, and as much it would be good to cheat just now. In fact, there's a Welsh thing to this. So I've got a domain name, cardiffcitystadium.co.uk,
right,
which is an old PBN of mine. It's a DR34, and I've just had a website thrown up on it, and I'm actually going to lash out lots of ChatGPT content on there. I just want to see how hard I can push it, and for how long it sticks. Essentially, just as a case.
Yeah, we've got to test this stuff, haven't we?
Yeah. So I've got the website up. I've not actually added anything to it. The reason I'm going to put loads of Cardiff City football stuff on there because that's quite easy to regurgitate and steal match reports and all the other shit, signings and God knows what else. So I'm going to be throwing a whole bunch of that shit on there. But I just thought I'd throw that in there since you're Welsh. I know you're probably not a Cardiff fan, but you might be. I don't know. But it's that's my wee case study that I'm doing.
I think there's definitely uses for. Well, I think that before we get into what I think the good uses are, also I know like OpenAI are working on like a digital watermarking system as well for their content, and you've got to think about it. They've got to do that because even just in terms of university students when they're turning in papers, like how do they know they've even written that then? If there's no, you've got Turnitin, which looks at plagiarism, but there's no AI detection at the moment, and there's got to be something there. But I was reading because I was thinking, what is the point of this watermark system apart from that? And aren't they giving Google like an obvious way of tracking this kind of content? But apparently, the reason that they're watermarking it isn't for any of that. It's because when they come to train newer AIs, obviously the AI is trained on internet content. Most of it's human written, things like Wikipedia and stuff. But when they come time to train new models of AI, they don't know how it's going to perform if that content gets trained on AI generated content. So you imagine now ChatGPT comes out, a ton of new content's created from AI, and then they start training a new model based on, and it's picking up lots of this AI.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what will happen?
You're just going to have shit on top of shit on top of shit, and before you know it.
But what if all these AI facts are wrong? Nobody's fact checking them. They push it out, and then they train the new model, and they take that as fact, and then it's just a snowball of shit, basically.
Yeah, shit on top of shit. You literally couldn't take anything serious that you read at that point.
So I read that they were watermarking it more for that. So when they do come time to train new models, they they can say, well, we'll ignore everything that has like a watermark. But in terms of uses, I mean, you can use ChatGPT to enhance your content. I think it's really good at creating tables. So if you want to say, create me a summary table of how many calories are in these 10 meals and add it to a recipe post, it's really good for that kind of stuff. It's good for coming up with ideas. It's good for creating meta descriptions, like really quickly, where it's not so important if you were still adding meta descriptions to content. Like, it's got some really good uses. And I also think like AI images and things like that are also good for adding unique images to blogs. I've been testing some of that on my own personal websites, rather than using stock images, getting AI to create a piece of content. And Canva has that now built in, which is awesome. So I think there's definitely some pros, but as for just writing content, I'm still saying don't do it, because who knows?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Last couple of questions. Rohit is asking, what are the important things you consider when finding a relevant aged domain?
Sure. Yeah, there's lots of things, and we've got a whole video on age domain due diligence on the Niche Website Builder channel. But just to cover off a couple, we look at things like history and way back to make sure they've never been abused or used as a PBN or used for spam or anything like that. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, follow me on LinkedIn, because every now and again when I find them, I do this little competition thing where I'll say there's an age domain coming up tomorrow and it's got a really sneaky red flag. Who can find it first? And people love that. And there's all kinds of weird and wonderful sneaky red flags I've seen from age domains. So follow me on LinkedIn if you want to see those, to see like the real sneaky stuff. But there's history on way back. We will look at referring domains. We want to make sure that they've got ideally a mixture of high authority. So, Forbes, New York Times, LA Times, those kind of high authority sites, but also niche relevant sites. So if it's a sports site, then you want some high authority sport related websites. What else do we look for? We look at anchor text to make sure that there's nothing dodgy in the anchor text. We look at where the referring domains are pointing to. We want most of them to the homepage. There's loads of different things that we look at, and probably we could do a whole episode on just age domain due diligence, probably. But go and have a look at that other video. It's literally like an hour where we run you through the whole process.
And all-purpose work, so we have to set up WordPress on expired domain, then let it sit for some time, and then redirect all the old pages, including the expired domain, homepage, to acquired page of a money website. Is he right?
Yes, but you don't have to let it sit for some time. So that exact process, but you don't have to let it sit. You can do it straight away.
Cool. And I'm assuming your alarm means you've got another appointment, Adam?
Well, actually, I had an infection in my fingers to take my tablets. So
Jeez.
Got some antibiotics for it.
Fair enough. But we are pretty much there with all of the questions, guys. If you do want to check out the guys, the link is below, nichewebsite.builders. If you want a complete done-for-you service, that's what they offer. But you can go there, you can order your content, your digital PR, and all that other stuff as well if you just need certain parts of the service to help grow and scale your niche websites. But
any questions on the case studies, or any questions on the data project as well, feel free to reach out and can talk you through any of those as well.
Yep, hassle them, guys, hassle them. That's what he's there for. But do check the link below, guys. And as I say, we are doing this every Tuesday, same time, if you want to see more from the Niche Website Builders team. And you can also go over to the Niche Website Builders YouTube and check out a lot of their own internal videos as well, because they've got a lot of good stuff over there as well. So check that out as well. But thank you, everyone who came along, and we will catch you at the same time next week.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.